So, as I said, I will be giving a brief talk. At the Village, you can go to the Daily Word, and I considered doing the Daily Word this morning. But I'm a huge fan of Rosemary Fillmore Ray, the woman who did the Daily Word outreach. I've been reading her book, and I've been reflecting on that in the morning and some things that she said and another minister said. And so just briefly, I wanted to call this little talk Start Where You Are. And back in November, a man named Terry McBride came here who has had one of the most remarkable healings this ministry has seen, any New Thought ministry has seen since Myrtle Fillmore. He was devastated with E. coli. They were literally cutting his body away. He was told absolutely by every doctor on earth there was no hope, and he regained full health over a period of several years. Myrtle took about 2 years to recover from tuberculosis. And so I wanted to talk about something he said, which is start where you are, not where you think you should be, where you think others think you should be, and start where you are, because we have been in a period of transition here, and we are starting where we are. And some of you may be familiar with Johnny Coleman. She was the first African-American Unity minister back in the 50s. She is quite hilarious. And she tells a story of being at the Unity Chapel at the Village in the 50s, and the only living of the older Fillmores at that time was Cora Fillmore, Charles's second wife. And all of the students were sitting in the chapel, and she said, Cora Fillmore came in, and all of a sudden everyone magically changed. And she said, I thought to myself, who is this, Mary, mother of Jesus? Because everyone was suddenly on their best behavior. And any of you that have ever hung out with ministerial students know that best behavior can be a very relative term. But something else that she talks about is the 3D and the 4D. We have the Christ within, and she sometimes refers to that as the four-dimensional self. We live in a 3D world, but we hold on to and center in the 4D. We express from that point, but we do not deny the reality of where we are. If we did, we'd have nothing to work with. And so centering in the 3D allows us to express in the 4D. And she talks about worrying a lot less about what others think of you, which was the point of her Cora Fillmore story, because you don't need the support of everyone else when you're doing your spiritual work. You need God. And she has a saying, you and God are always in the majority. I'd like to talk a little more about the 3D self. Rosemary Fillmore Ray was the granddaughter of Charles and Myrtle. And she was raised at what is now Unity Village, then Unity Farm. And she grew up as a child and then a teenager. And she lost her mother when she was young. She was raised by her father. And she had a wonderful upbringing. She knew James Dillett Freeman, May Rowland. She had these influences, but she was still a person. And when she was 14 years old, she was washing her hair one day. And the Village at that time was quite remarkable in that it offered facilities for all of its employees to use for free, swimming pools, etc. And people would come there wanting to use the pool, and they would be charged, if they were not a Unity employee, 25 cents. And one day, Margaret Truman, her father, Harry, Independence, Missouri, was visiting. It was after Harry this was in the 50s. Rosemary was washing her hair, and she had one side done up in curlers and one side down. And she heard a knock on the door, and she went out and opened it, and there were 4 Secret Service men standing there. And there were some limousines that Margaret Truman was in the back of. And they said that they had heard there was a wonderful pool there, and they wanted to know if Margaret Truman could swim there. And Rosemary asked, being the only one home at the time, does she have 25 cents? The Secret Service man got incensed and says, the former president's daughter doesn't pay 25 cents. And Rosemary, then she's not swimming, and shut the door. When her father got home that night, the ensuing discussion was lively. Rosemary Fillmore Ray is someone that deeply inspires me, because if her work had not existed, I would not have been brought to these teachings. I was someone that saw, those of you that are a little older may remember the Daily Word, which then became the Word. And that touched me, and it reached me, even though I did not have a Unity Center near me at the time. There was no Unity Church of Lawrence in the mid-'70s. We came into existence basically in 1979. And she is also one of the most real writers about unity. And by that I mean she says what she means. And a person that's really in the 4D frequently does that. New Thought author Greg Flood says New Thought teachers and personalities, or New Thought teachers sometimes have what we should call perhaps big personalities. And Emerson makes some statements to that effect as well. She and her friend, as they were growing up, there was a minister there that her friend used to say, he's so spiritual, he's of no earthly good whatsoever. And they would sneak off to have fun because they didn't want what she called his holy superiority. Who she sought was her grandfather, Charles Fillmore, one of the founders of these teachings. And he was never like that. He was always fun. And into his 90s, he would have people take him to Lee's Summit to go to the movies. He liked Westerns. And he never, ever, ever exuded anything other than we're all in this together and we're all people. There was no judgment. And so I'd like to dovetail or come back around to the idea of starting where you are. A lot of people feel like when they come and sit in a sanctuary like this, I wonder if these people are doing better than I am. Oh my God, she did her hair and I didn't. You know, I myself am wearing black pants, a gray shirt, and brown shoes because I didn't want to go to the trouble of transferring the arch supports to the black ones. And I thought no one's going to see them from the podium anyway. No one is really ever, as long as you're in this life, beyond the 3D. The point is to express the Christ within, to nurture that, to know the truth, as New Thought religions will, or teachings perhaps I should say, will say, to know the truth, and you will see the miracles, but you will see them starting where you're at, not where you or anybody else thinks that you should be. And so I would like to encourage everyone to find that place in themselves during our time of meditation today, to seek that quiet place within, to seek that which you want to fuel your expression in the 3D world. Robin has several tracks of glass harmonica music that some friends of mine and I have been meditating to. There are 4 tracks. The last one is an old Welsh folk melody, the Ash Grove, which some of you may know as the hymn, Let All Things Now Living. And after the glass harmonica pieces, we will sit in silence for 5 to 10 minutes. And then we will take a deep breath and we will all have the opportunity to go forth as living beings and express that which we have found in the silence of our hearts. And I thank each and every one of you for coming here today, and God bless.